can stay right here, we will play until somehow you can find a slightly different frame of mind. Right here in my arms, away from all harm, you'll be safe from all the flares, although I know you don't care. Take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find a slightly better frame of mind. Shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find a slightly better frame of mind. Take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path along the lines with your shattered frame of mind. Or instead you could always stay. We can wait right here and play until somehow you can find a slightly better frame of mind. And when the light comes through, when the day isn't new, then it will be time for a new frame of mind. When all eyes are on you, you will know what to do, since you will have found your new frame of mind. When you lift your head up to the sky, take a deeper breath and give it time. You can walk the path among the lines, but always know that you'll be safe. I'll be here throughout your days. Come find me and we will play.
Alright, so let's get number 2 underway. This one, as it says on the very start there, it's going to be covering laser vomit and getting the most out of the solo queue and building your awareness. The last one is very, very important, I think, for quite a few people, veterans and new players alike, seeing as though a lot of people get caught out by silly stuff that can be solved just by either looking at your minimap or whatever. But anyway, let's get into the game. So, our new player here, Mr. New Potato, he covered all of his cadet bonuses, did them all, played them all throughout the week, and was a fairly decent run. Most of the trial mechs are pretty good mechs, quite frankly. Nothing groundbreaking, but they offer you ideas about certain playstyles in the game. Not all of them, but various ones. Some of them definitely a lot more easier than others. I mean, you have your mixed. That's your Ghost Vomit. This is your typical Laser Vomit kind of build. You've got your Heavy Assault Daka for either one of these. You have an LRM mech should you wish to use it. And I don't think there's any Pop-Tart mechs. But Pop-Tarting is one of those more higher end kind of play styles. But the one we're going to be taking a look at and really covering today is going to be the classic Laser Vomit kind of style. Now, because we're using our new account, a new potato account, and we're going to be covering Laser Vomit a little bit more in depth, Mr. New Potato here is going to buy his first mech. Now, seeing as though the one that he really enjoyed, the one I personally really enjoyed, was the Hellbringer F, and we managed to accumulate 22 million C-bills, we're going to go ahead and we're going to buy this mech. It's going to set us back so we only have around 9 million to play with. But we have our very first mech in our little bay. And isn't he a handsome devil? With purchasing our first mech, we then gain the right to actually configure our mech and do whatever the hell we want with it. First thing we want to do, for this mech at least, is strip it. As we can see, it's not like the champion whatsoever. It's got very stripped armor. Okay, firepower, but it's sacrificing its armor for its firepower, so it's gonna die relatively quickly. If you were to take this mech straight out into the quick play, we'd die incredibly fast, and we really don't want that to happen. So we're just going to strip all the equipment off of the mech and save. And just to give us a little bit extra C-bills, we're just going to go into the equipment here, weapon systems. And we're just going to sell off these two LBX and the SRM6. We're not going to sell the ER medium laser though, because we're going to need those. So we're going to save those. So in customizing your mech, they fall into two different categories. There's battle mechs and there's omni mechs. Omni mechs, you're able to actually customize the hardpoints on your mech, and this is going to enable you to, swap and change your omni mech to suit your playstyle. And with our playstyle going to be Laser Vomit, we're going to swap out just a few of our hardpoints here. More specifically, we're going to swap out the left torso here. We're going to change it to the Hellbringer Prime torso. As you see, that's going to cost us C-bills as we don't own this torso yet. And we're just going to swap out the head. We're also going to swap out the right torso to gain the 2 energy hardpoints on this mech. May have saved money by buying the Hellbringer P, but alright. Actually, no, you wouldn't. You'd have to swap out mechs anyway. So we're going to save it, just so that we've bought these torsos and the head, so we have them logged in case we wish to change anything later. What we're going to do to this mech first is we're going to put in our weapon systems. Now, rule of thumb, any weapon system you put in first usually takes the highest mount. We're just going to put in an ER medium laser in the head. Seeing as though we already have 4 in our inventory, it's not going to cost us anything. Going to push some large pulse lasers in either of the torsos. They will automatically go to the highest mounts available on the Hellbringer. And then we're just going to fill out the rest of our hardpoints. We're not going to touch the arms because the hardpoints would be lower down. We're just filling out the top of our mech with weapons. Next, what we're going to do, just real quick, is we're just going to adjust the armor on our mech. Now, seeing as though most times you're going to be facing the enemy, you want to front load your armor. You don't want to have a balanced kind of armor system going out. A lot of new players make this mistake right off the bat. They will think, oh, I need to balance my armor so I can twist and just, you know, have protection on all sides. This is something very wrong to do. You're mostly going to be facing your enemy and you're going to be receiving fire as well as giving it. So logic dictates that most of your health and protection needs to be on your front of your mech. So we're going to front load our armor. At the same time, you don't want to strip everything off of the rear of your mech, simply because lights or maybe a medium may skirt around the outskirts of the map and smack you in the back of your mech, causing either to lose a torso or kill you directly through this rear torso. So you want a little buffer there so that when you are shot at, you can become aware of it and react accordingly. Give ourselves some max armor on our legs. So now that we have the very basic core of our mech armored out, we're going to do something that is actually special for the Hellbringer, especially if you have equipped the Prime Torso. What you're able to do is equip a Clan ECM, Electronic Countermeasure. Now, just like the Trial Hellbringer F, I do believe it came with Clan ECM as it was equipped with the Hellbringer Prime Torso. Clan ECM, as it says right there, protects friendly units within 90 meters of electronic targeting systems. This can be improved with the skill tree. Can also counter the effects of enemy ECM within the 90-meter radius. It's lighter and more compact than Insphere counterparts, but that's just some fluff that's added onto the description there. What it also does is it helps when enemy missile systems or whatever are trying to target you. It'll increase the duration in which it takes for them to target you. So can be pretty nice for you to equip this. It's an extra little defensive system. And the amount of defensive systems that you can get when you're a new player or even when you're a veteran player is nothing but an advantage when you go out into the solo queue or group queue. This also gives a benefit to your allies whenever you go into group queue or even faction play. Next, what we're going to do is fill up on heat sinks. We're going to fit as many as we possibly can onto our mech. And yes, we're even stripping down on the arm armor. We'll bounce out our arm armor a little bit, just because we like seeing little balanced numbers across the screen. So, with this configuration that we have right here, we have a firepower of 52. That means if we alpha all of these weapons, and the enemy is within range, we will do 52 points of damage. Our heat management here says 1.18, which is, you know, it's better than, say, what you would get on a Hellbringer if you were to run this, although I think a Hellbringer could run more heat sinks, but it's due to our engine. But Our heat management gives us an indication of how hot this mech is going to run. If it's below 0, it means you're going to run pretty hot. If it's above 1, then you're going to run cooler. A lot of laser vomit mechs will typically aim for either 1.12 or 1.13. The cooler they can get their mech to run, the better. Now, the reason why we have equipped 4 ER medium lasers and 2 large pulse. Large pulse lasers suffer this thing called ghost heat. All energy weapons in the game suffer from this thing called ghost heat. All weapons in the game suffer from this thing called ghost heat. And what ghost heat is a mechanic put in by PGI to prevent weapon boating. Way back in the beta, the early stages of the game, you would often see people just equip the highest damage weapons with the longest range and alpha all of them, resulting in some incredibly damaging builds that would roam the battlefield. This system was put in to prevent these kind of one-shot mech mechanics that used to be around, to prevent the time to kill, which will be a term thrown around an awful lot, from being really, really low. And to give the game a bit more sense of balance. If we go ahead and just quickly unequip a medium laser, we're just going to strip off the heatsinks here real quickly as well, just so I can show you something. I'm putting a large pulse laser. You'll see a little icon that appears at the top of our screen here. And this will tell us, once we click it, that firing more than 2 large lasers simultaneously will result in a heat spike higher than normal. This is an indication that we are triggering ghost heat. Now, ghost heat scales the more weapons you fire of that same type of group. So here it's telling us that large lasers firing more than 2 of these is going to trigger this heat spike. It's going to trigger ghost heat. With our mech already running a little bit hot, we want to avoid this. So we do this by filling up our tonnage with other weapons of similar range and of not of the same category as the large pulse lasers. Now the thing to remember with laser vomit is that when you fire all of these weapons, the term comes as you are practically vomiting on your enemy. You alpha, you fire all your weapons, you do a high amount of damage, and then you go back into cover. The trick to laser vomit is most of the time, the weapons that you're using has similar ranges. As you see here with our ER medium laser, it gives us a little pop-up here that tells us its damage, its heat, its cooldown, its duration, its max range, its optimal range, and its component's health. The ones that we're paying attention to right now is damage, max range, and optimal range. Max range is the distance in which your weapon is going to reach out to and then stop. It'll continue doing damage all the way out into that range, which then it will do nothing. Optimal range is the distance in which our particular weapon does damage at its maximum. After that, there's a damage fall off. It's indicated to you here by the graph. As you see that we will hit the max range of 400 and then the damage will slowly decline all the way until our max damage range of 800. These distances are in meters. When we take a look at the large pulse laser, it'll tell us here that our optimal range is 600 meters and our max range is 840. This syncs up quite nicely with the ER medium laser. As we see that the max range is 840, the max range for ER mediums is 800. So we have very similar ranges here that we can work with our mech, and we also know our maximum amount of distance in which we can touch something, which is 840 meters. will do very little damage at those 840 meters, but it's still a nice little distance. Now, we could change this mech up a bit to a nice alpha, actually. We could change it quite drastically. We can remove the large pulse lasers, in which case we'll also have to remove the medium lasers, as the top spots will no longer be taken. We want to use our highest mounts for our hardest hitting weapons, and for the weapons with the most range. I'll explain why in a bit. We can swap these out instead for the heavy large lasers. These in turn will do more damage than our large pulse laser counterparts, but will also generate more heat. They're heavy, they're big, they do a lot of damage, but also give us the same amount of sinkage really with our medium lasers. One very nice thing to point out as well is that they cost less tons. Our heat management goes up, and therefore we can even equip more heat sinks. With this laser vomit build, we'll know our max range, and our max range will be what the heavy laser says it is, 900. Now, we're not typically going to be engaging mechs at 900 meters, but at least we know ourselves that any mech within 900 meters we can touch, we can deal damage to. Being able to do damage in Mechwarrior is the whole point of it's how you win the game. When you put Mechwarrior down to its very basic way of how you're going to win any games, it's shooting the enemy more times than he can shoot you, and shoot the enemy with more stuff than he can shoot you with. That's it. Grand old secret. Also, what Laser Vomit falls into the category of is PPFLD. This term means pinpoint front-loaded damage. Well, this abbreviation. All the weapons we've equipped onto our Hellbringer are pinpoint. They have a duration, yes, but they will all go towards the center of our crosshair whenever we go into solo or group. They're not indirect, they're not like LRMs, they're not like the DACA weapons, the ballistic weapons of the game, in which case some of them will be spread, or some of them are pinpoint but fire out multiple rounds, so it's harder to get all the rounds to hit in the same location. Lasers all hit at the very center of your screen. They're pinpoint. Of course, the duration can mean that they're not exactly pinpoint and you may spray over the enemy mechs, but with a little bit of adjustment with your aim, it's fairly much a given. So our new potato, he seems to like this build, so he's just going to go ahead and click save. We have a decent heat management. We have increased firepower than we did with the large pulse lasers. We have satisfactory armor on the front of our mech, our legs. Our arms have a bit of armor on them to protect the double heat sinks, but we don't really care whether or not we lose these or not. They're just an added bonus so that we can fire a few more times with our heat sinks. Now, one of the main things that we have to be aware of when we're using these kind of mechs, the way that you typically play Laser Vomit is you puke up your damage onto the enemy mech, and then you retreat and cool off. Why I think Laser Vomit is the most newbie friendly is that these mechs are incredibly easy to build once you understand one particular thing, that is ghost heat, that you can't go over a certain limit of weapons. For large lasers, for clans, it's different rules for both Innisphere and for clans, but for clans, for large lasers, it's typically 3. Sorry, if you go to 3, you're going to trigger Ghost Heat. For medium lasers, just the normal ER medium lasers, it's 6. For heavy medium lasers, it's 4 because of increased damage or whatever. For heavy smalls, it's 6. For normal small lasers, I do believe it's something like 8. For small pulse, it's it's the same deal. PPCs, you fire 3, you'll trigger Ghost Heat. I don't believe that there is any Ghost Heat limit on flamers, but I could be wrong on this. There are of course Ghost Heat limits for the ballistics as well as they are for the missile systems, but we'll cover them at a later date when we get to them. Sticking with Laser Vomit. These mechs are incredibly easy to build and are highly accessible to absolutely everybody in the game. They are the easiest to build, but they are also the most difficult to master. It's very much the Ryu of the game. If anyone plays Street Fighter, they'll understand. Ryu is the character you pick up, is the easiest to get to know. Everyone knows how to do a Hadoken, quarter circle forward punch. But in order to become a Ryu master, it takes years of playing that character in order to be able to master it. What these builds are going to teach you is how to handle your heat, how to utilize your positioning so that you can effectively deliver the entirety of your firepower to your target, how to manage your heat so that you're able to actually effectively deal damage in a reliable way and consistently, so that you're not left out in the middle of nowhere with either no ammo or whatever, or you may overheat at times, but that's all part of the learning experience. And using Laser Vomit is just going to be the most blunt force way of teaching yourself not to heat cap yourself, not to get out of position because you'll get punished, but not to a massive degree. Now, with these requiring duration, which is the face time required for these weapons to fire initially, deal their damage, and then shut down. Not necessarily like shut down your mech or whatever, but to cease firing, having all the damage dealt. Our maximum here duration is 1.55. That's 1.5 seconds worth of firing. For the ER medium laser, it's 1.25, so that's 1.25 seconds worth of firing that we have to do at the enemy in order to deal our full amount of damage. These, of course, can be decreased by using the skill tree. But what we're going to do first is going to take this mech into the testing grounds. And I advise any new players or even veteran players, a lot of competitive players, when they're building mechs, do this. They'll build a mech and then they'll go onto one of these maps here. You spawn alone in the middle of nowhere, various enemy mechs on the map to kill, and test your mech. See how hot it runs. See how fast it goes, what its torso is like. And that will give you an idea of how you want to play it in solo queue. We're going to go ahead and load up on Canyon Network. Now, the thing to remember when you're building a mech is have an idea of what you're building. That sounds like a weird thing to say, but have an idea of what you want your mech to do. Have a style in mind of what it's going to do when you play it, so that when you're building it, you already know how you're going to play your mech before you've even, built the thing. Set your weapon groups up in testing grounds, or you could do it in the mech lab. And then play around. Spawning on Canyon Network will just sit you straight into Tier 3. You do 180 and there you will have a Centurion sat there waiting for you
Target
to deliver your
acquired.
firepower. We'll go ahead, target him, and then we'll just alpha him in the back. Well, actually, we don't even need to alpha him. We could probably just fire both of our heavy larges and kill him. Oh, maybe not.
Target destroyed.
Now, we alternated our fire there, and as you see that we spiked over 50% heat. Now, your mech generates heat whilst moving. As you see here, I'm sat at 2%. If I stop the W completely, I'll go down to 0. I should probably cover this really quickly, actually. Now, throttle decay is on naturally when you load into the game. Veteran players, I advise you turn throttle decay on if you already have it off. This will allow you more control over your mech. If I turn it off, watch what happens if I try to stop. Well, if I press W, it is so slow to get up to my maximum speed. I don't have to use W or S to slow down or speed up. I can just pilot around and not even have to worry about my throttle. However, should I wish to stop, I would have had to have bound a full stop key to my keyboard. It's an extra button that I have to worry about. It could be bound to something else. If I try and stop normally, that means I have to decrease my throttle, and there we go, we're at 0. If I have it turned on, I will always automatically go, I want to go full speed. As soon as I release, it's a manual full stop. I will just simply slow down. No extra buttons, nothing extra to worry about. The game just does it for me. If you can make the game do something for you, then please make it do something for you. The less work you have to do to make the game do what you want frees up more space for you to do things that you actually want to affect your game.
Target acquired. Target destroyed.
Alphaing this mech, on this map in particular, takes us up to 73 heat. But as you see, our cooling off takes us pretty damn quickly. This is a very hot mech.
Target acquired.
Should we wish to alpha something twice, you'll find that we can't do it, and watch what happens.
Heat level critical.
We will eventually overheat. When you overheat, your mech shuts down until it cools off, and then it'll turn back on. As you see, I've taken damage because I overheated. Whenever you overheat, your mech will periodically take damage to its center torso or a random component of your mech. It'll always start with your center torso and then start jumping around to the different locations on your mech. There are ways that we can make our mech cooler, and we're going to do this by using the skill tree. Alternatively, you could do it by equipping different weapons on your mech. Realizing this, Mr. Noob Potato here is going to go into the skill tree now. Skill tree, yes, it is one incredibly intimidating pieces of this menu that you are going to look at. However, don't be intimidated by it. Get a cup of coffee or something and take a healthy sip. When the skill tree pops up, you're going to be overloaded by all the nodes that you have to pick. But fret not. The very first ones that you want to be even thinking about choosing sit right here on your firepower tree. This eliminates all these other nodes from you to even have to worry or think about yet. Think about this one first. You want to be worrying about dealing damage to your enemy first in the skill tree, and worry about all the other stuff later on. In order to buy experience points, So they have changed it. Before, when you played the a trial mech, you would gain experience. Now, apparently, you don't. But we were gifted global experience points when we completed our cadet bonus. To add experience points to a particular mech, you will click on the Add SP button, which will bring up this menu. We have 7 million C-bills in which to purchase our skill points, and a general experience pool in which we can use to also purchase them. A combination of general experience or mech experience plus C-bills equals skill points. Sounds complicated. Once you do it the first time, you know what you're doing. So we will have, once we max out our general experience little bar here, and you might as well for your very first mech, we will have a total of 65 skill points in which we can use, costing us a grand total of 3 million, approximately 3 million C-bills. We're going to go ahead and buy these. So when we went into the testing grounds, we noted that our mech in particular runs fairly hot. We want to decrease this heat that we're generating. You'll see here, if you take a look into the skill tree, that in various spots and locations there is heat gen. These are quirks, and quirks, when you allocate them onto your mech, will give you certain benefits. Now, you can't just go ahead and click on any of these random nodes here. I can't just equip heat generation onto my mech. You have to start from the top down. You also notice here that there is laser generation. Sorry, laser duration. Minus. Same thing with the heat generation, it's a minus. We noted that when we fired our weapons, 1.5 seconds is a long time, and if we can minimize the amount of time it takes for us to shoot the enemy, then by all means, let's take it. There are also cooldown nodes which reduce our weapons' cooldown rate, range nodes that increase the range of our weapons, velocity, so that if you were to equip ballistics on the mech, it will increase the speed in which the particular bullet or even missile we fire flies through space. Ghost charge, which adds time to whenever you use a ghost rifle. We'll cover ghost rifles in a later date. LBX spread. Think of LBX like a shotgun. An LBX spread -5, you're reducing the pattern area in which your LBX will fire. Enhanced UACs or RACs. These decrease the jam duration when you use UACs or RACs. Basically what that means, when you jam either one of these weapons, this will decrease the duration. Again, we'll cover that at a later date. Magazine capacity, which basically, as you see there on the right, increases the carrying load of a particular weapon. So when you equip a particular ballistic onto your mech, you must equip ammo. This will increase the ammo. Cover that later on. Missile racks increase the missile capacity of your ammo. High explosive increases the crit damage, something we'll cover later. Missile spread, very similar to the LBX spread, just minimizes the patterns of your missiles. And flame of ventilation, which decreases your ramp down duration for your flamer. Flamer is an energy weapon. When you fire it, a little bar will increase in your bottom right. The more it increases, the hotter it increases to its full point, the hotter flamers are going to go, and the faster your meching, is going to overheat. We'll cover flamers at a later date. Right now, the main nodes we're going to be wanting to get are range, cooldown, laser duration, and heat gen. We want to ignore as many velocity, flamer duration, all the weapon nodes as we possibly can. When you know this, just simply click away and know that you can, most of the time, do no wrong with what you click. Looking over the tree at first will give you an idea of what pattern you're going to be making out before you start clicking. We're not going to hit all the range nodes. We mainly want to focus on the heat gen nodes. Same thing with cooldown. If we are already running too hot, it doesn't matter if our weapons are off of cooldown if we can't already fire them due to our heat capping limit. So it makes sense to mainly target the heat generation nodes. Save SP for any other nodes that we want in any of the other trees. Just target the heat gen. You'll be fine. As you can see here, we've managed to click all the laser duration nodes, only 4. Every single one of the heat generation nodes, at least that I can see. I'm pretty sure we got them all, yes. A nice amount of range nodes, and a little bit of cooldown nodes. We're going to go ahead and apply those changes, leaving us 23 skill points to play around with. Now, once again, this is a hot mech. So we want to know if there's any other ways in which we can increase, well, give a benefit to our heat as most as we possibly can. The answer is yes, we can. Go over to the operations tree, we'll see here that there is heat containment and cool run. Now there are some nodes here that we will have to go through in order to get the full benefit, or at least a little bit of benefit, on our mech. But if we map it out correctly and try and hit as little as these extra like junk nodes as we possibly can, we'll try and get the maximum amount of benefit that we can, and well, we'll see these other things as other little added bonuses that we will receive. And as we see here, what we've managed to do is increase our max heat by 15%, our heat dissipation by 6%. Heat dissipation is a little bit broken at the minute.
Who is this Rudy Poo?
Someone just hosted me. Apparently my chatbot's not working, but whoever hosted me, thank you very much for the host. Now, we're only going to go so far as to this far, as the cool run, that's a little bit broken at the minute, and I'm not going to go into the full reasons why and bore you. The skill tree itself is already a little bit of a boring subject as it is, but we're going to go ahead and equip these 15 skill points for this particular mech. Now we have 8 left over. Being a new player, your positioning is not going to be the best. You're going to be a little bit wobbly over places, so we're not going to worry about mobility. We're just going to mainly worry about survival and give our mech some extra armor with our remaining skill points that we can do. Now, our mech does not come equipped with an anti-missile system, so we're going to completely ignore this. In fact, actually, what we're going to do, we're not going to do survival. We're going to go to auxiliary. Now, there are consumables in this game, and the consumables are artillery strike, airstrike, cool shot, and UAV. UAV, think about like Call of Duty. You have a little eye in the sky, and it tells you where enemy or friendly mechs, well, not friendly, but enemy mechs are within a certain distance. Cool shot is a instant cooldown to your mech. It cools off and throws away all that junk heat that you've been making in your mech that you don't particularly want. And airstrikes and artillery strikes are ways to deal damage to your enemy via use of a consumable that give off a damaging area of effect that either randomly is placed, that's an artillery strike, or is placed in a direct line, that's an airstrike. We want our mech run cooler. We want our mech run cooler. I can't believe I just said that. We want to make our mech run cooler. We also, at the very beginning, want to have a bit of, well, awareness with our mech. So we're going to go ahead and go the UAV and cool shot route. Now, we're not going to get all of these. We're going to stick towards the cool shot. But we have to get the UAV duration anyway. Get the cool shot reserves and cooldown and consumable. Therefore, you'll have 2 cool shots that you can work with. We'll have 1 leftover point. We'll go ahead and equip that into a UAV range just to give us a bit more range for our UAV to work with. I'm going to go ahead and apply those changes. And there we have it. We have a way to completely get rid of the heat of our mech. We've increased our heat capacity of our mech and a little bit of how fast the heat dissipates. And we've reduced the time in which it takes our weapons to fire, reduced their cooldown, increased their range slightly, and reduced the amount of heat that they will create. Now, you're not going to see the changes directly on these mech stats, but if you were to click this little window right here and scroll down a little bit, you will see that our mech before, if you would have clicked this before, would have had no enhancements here. Now all of a sudden, all these green letters and such will appear with various percentages saying plus or minus. That's how you have increased your mech. You've customized it. Its effectiveness. We're going to go ahead to our consumables and see that we have 3 empty consumable slots. We're going to click on Coolant Flush and equip these first. And 1 UAV. We're going to ask these things to automatically refill. Therefore, when we use them and our mech returns us back to this screen, the mech is going to automatically buy these consumables. And as you see, they do come with a cost, a C-bill cost, and put them back onto our mech. I'm going to go ahead, click save. These are now equipped onto our mech. So Mr. New Potato has now a mech that runs cooler, has cool shots, is able to do some very, very nice damage. As you'll see when we take it into the testing grounds, on the same map, always do your testing on the same map so that you have a baseline. I recommend Canyon Network as it's the most neutral heat of all the maps. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It'll give you a very good idea of how your weapons are going to work. Now before, when we alphaed every single weapon, we went up to 73 heat.
Target acquired.
Now, as you see that we have managed to shave off a good 19% when we alpha. We go to like 50, what was that, 53, 54? So that's like, what, 20% worth of heat that we've managed to shave off there. And of course, the added dissipation made us cool off a hell of a lot quicker. Making that there's going to be a lot more of those mechs than our mech being that mech. So you can immediately see the difference this skill tree makes when you plan ahead properly and utilize it properly. All it takes is a little bit of reading and you'll fit right in. These are the easiest mechs to make and the easiest mechs to use. That's 58. Okay, so that's like 11%. That's cool. Now, with our Mr. New Potato with his very first mech built, he's bought it, he's equipped it with his weapons, he's skilled it up a little bit. The skill tree allows you to put a maximum of 91 skill points into your mech. You can't go over 91, you can be under, it doesn't really matter when you're starting out. But now whenever we put skill points into our mech, it's only going to get better. It's only going to get more efficient, and we're going to be able to see where we put these mechs depending on however we feel. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and go into the solo queue. It's going to move on to our next little topic of what we get out of solo queue, our mentality when we go into it, and also when we're inside the solo queue. We're going to talk a little bit about the awareness on how to really make yourself more aware inside of the matches. Actually, I'm just going to quickly cancel because I want to do something real quick. What I advise you do for your consumables, I was actually going to do this because I realized that my keys for where I use my consumables are, they're placed all over the shop for my keyboard. And as you see here, like a cool shot's E, that's right next to my W. I can accidentally hit that. Airstrike's V, which is, above my spacebar. Now, these are relatively easy for me to hit. Launch UAV's G or Golf. Artillery Strike's Unbound. So if I were to use an artillery strike, I'd probably sit here, panic what my key is, hit every key on my keyboard, and be like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, and all goes to shit. What I'm actually going to do here is I'm just going to unbind these particular keys and rebind them so that my cool shot is going to be 1. I don't really have AMS equipped, so I don't really care. Artillery strike, it's going to be 2. 2 is already bound to fire weapon group 2, but fire weapon group 2 is already bound to my mouse 2, so I don't really care about that either. Artillery strike is going to be 3. Fire weapon group 3, that's my middle mouse, don't care. Launch UAV, 4. Fire weapon group 4, that's my mouse 4, and I don't really use weapon group 4, so I don't really care about that. These are all very easy for my fingers to just hit. I can smash these very, very quickly. Next thing I want to locate is I think it's the command wheel. It's the comma rows. It may be the command wheel. I hope it is. We don't really care about centering our legs. We do that manually. Just going to go into testing grounds to make sure that that is indeed my command wheel bind, because it goes into our awareness. Yeah, it is. Okay, so command wheel works like Battlefield. You can say help.
Need assistance.
You can say sorry.
Sorry.
You can say thank you. Bear in mind that these things, if you spam it, it'll eventually, go grey so that you can't use it again, and then eventually it'll come back on. The most useful thing for awareness here that you have, you may have already seen it. It's enemy spotted.
Target
If you see an
acquired.
enemy, press your comma rose key. Hit enemy spotted. Now you can do this with a quick
Target
flick.
spotted.
Now you see when I turn around, it stays there. If that mech was to move, it would move with the mech. I will now know where that mech is. And it's disappeared. Oh my god. He's gone. He's disappeared. Oh, he's still there. Oh, I thought he came alive. This is incredibly useful for if you see a light in the distance, you can just quickly target spotted him and look away and focus on something else. But that little icon will stay above his head, and on the minimap there, you will see it follow him. Not all the people do it. I myself need to start doing this. It will help me greatly in doing things. I myself am a light pilot, so I want to do that an awful lot more. That's my own homework. So when we go into solo queue, now there's an awful lot of blame game that goes into the solo queue when people play this game. They're gonna go into the solo queue and think, oh god, I hope I get good teammates. I hope, I hope they're gonna be good. I hope I don't have to get my backpack on. I have to carry these scrubs. Ugh. When I played my trial mech, I was a boss, and now I'm like, I've got my mech. I know what I'm doing, okay? And these scrubs in solo queue, oh my god, they are like the worst. You'll hear that an awful lot, okay? People have this mentality that, and everyone's guilty of this, that they are the best fucking player in the game. Newsflash, heroes. When you go into solo queue, you are giving up the right to have good teammates. It's like rolling the dice and asking for wind. Yes, the sentence makes no sense because what you're expecting makes no sense. It's going to give you a random group of people of various skill levels. Some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be bad. And you can get upset all you like about the bad ones. But you're never going to improve as a mech pilot or at this game whatsoever if all you're going to do is focus on the bad players or even the good ones. What you have to do in order to get better in the solo queue, group queue, well, group queue is a little bit of a different beast, but solo queue in specific, is focus on yourself, on what you can control. If you focus on this, you'll make your experience in the solo queue a hell of a lot better. You'll be able to make improvements to your own game, and you're going to be able to make it a lot easier on your sanity if you have some bad players on your team who go ahead and die right from the off and screw up whatever. Yeah, you're gonna lose games, but everybody loses. Nobody's perfect. So what? Don't worry about things that are not in your control. Worry about the things that are. Things that are in your control, it's how you position your mech, how you use your heat, and how you utilize your damage. Biggest part of how we can control how our match goes, obviously, is by utilizing our awareness. And a couple of tips that we are going to give away here, give away, that we're going to do is how do we improve our awareness when we're playing Mechwarrior? Well, there's very, very simple tricks that we can use. We can just look at the minimap. Now, the minimap is the most undervalued tool in the Mechwarrior game. Not enough people use it. Oh, let's go incursion. Incursion. Which map we'll use? Frozen City. It's a cool map. We know our mech runs hot, so we're going to pick a cool map. The minimap is one of the most valuable tools that you have at your eyesight, at your fingertips, because you can't press it. All you need to do is look at it, and you'll get a gist as to where your team is, and if someone's put up a UAV, you'll get to see where the enemy is too. It's amazing! Like, holy shit! You mean you can have a top-down view of your mech and the battlefield and everything? Like, yeah, man, it's just right there. It's right, it's right at the very bottom of your screen. No shit! Yeah, it's right there, and it's amazing. But I have to focus on the fight, right? I have to focus on dealing damage to the enemy. I have to kill stuff, Rouser. Well, yeah, you do. You have to kill things. But there are times in the game when you're not killing anything. There are times when there is nothing else you can do that you can spend looking at your minimap. What about when your weapons are on cooldown? You're not firing at anything. You're probably pressing the S key and heading behind some cover. So why don't you look at your minimap then? Oh shit, yeah, fuck, why don't I do that? Yeah, you can just look at your minimap when you're cooling off. When you're cooling down, you know, when you're behind cover, just look at it. You can just look around the map as well, scan it with your eyes. Why don't you just do that? It's easy, it's simple, and it takes like, what, half a second, if that? It takes about as fast as it takes your eyes to look down. That's how you improve your awareness. You can go next level with your awareness. A lot of the times, you'll see your friends move up to certain positions or do certain things or whatever, and you can wonder, oh, why are they doing that? You know, do they know something I don't? They probably do. They probably know where the enemy is. You can see where your friendlies are firing their weapons. This will give you an indication as to where the enemy is. When the enemy fires their weapons, that's a pretty definite indication as to where the shit the enemy is. You know. It's a big indication. Oh, the enemy's over there. How do you know? Well, he shot at me. Oh, shit.
All systems.
He missed. Oh. He's probably just waving his lasers about, making a light show. Okay. So we loaded in the mech here. Obviously, at the very beginning of the game, the minimap doesn't really help you as much, but it does give you a nice indication of what's going on right from the off. You'll see there that our lights, now we can't exactly see them, they are represented by the dots here on the screen, but if we're not looking at them, we can see them on the minimap going towards Fox 6.
Target acquired.
They've already spotted somebody, we know where they are, that's all cool.
Target spotted.
Somebody target spotted them already. Now we can't see it on the minimap. Press B, there he is. Cool.
New target acquired.
Nope, we weren't quick enough for that guy. Now a lot of times, and you'll get used to this right from the off, there'll be trends of how the games are going, what people are doing.
Target spotted.
New target
You can very
acquired.
much tell where the enemy is by where they are not.
Target spotted.
We know a lot of people are spotting them, so we're getting constant information that basically the enemy is in front of us. There you go. We know that there's an enemy over there with
Target
LRMs.
acquired.
We know there's a guy there.
New target acquired.
Yeah, I'll take cover on Foxtrot line and wait for the dial.
Target spotted.
If we stay with our team,
New target acquired.
basically you have a
Target
path
spotted.
in which we're going to be engaged here, and engage back. Knowing where they are with the various target calls, with the various blips that are coming out on the screen, we know exactly where our enemy is. Whenever we take our time to reposition, we can just look at our minimap,
New target acquired.
make sure that we know where the enemy is. Keep your front face towards the enemy. We front loaded our armor for a reason.
New
Stay with a
target
friend.
acquired.
And get ready to deal damage.
New target acquired.
Once you see
Come on,
them,
focus down Alpha.
you know what to do.
He's on his own.
You fire.
He's got a Raven incoming behind you
New target acquired.
from the right.
Heat level critical.
Yeah, Bravo, hugging.
Apparently our friends
New
have
target
also
acquired.
been engaged by the enemy.
Heat level critical.
Bravo is alone.
As you see,
We
whenever
are
we're on
very
cooldown,
spread out right now.
and we're not actually
Nope,
looking
an
at the enemy,
assassin and a
we look at our minimap and we
Raven.
know exactly where the enemy is.
There's another Raven with them. All their lights are on our left flank.
This enables us to pop out of
If you're
cover,
being engaged,
get a
pull back.
shot off, knowing where they are ahead of time, and then go back into cover.
New target acquired.
Looks good now. Let's push Echo 8, Echo 7.
It's a very
New
simple
target acquired.
I'm on Echo.
Target destroyed.
rinse and repeat system that we can do.
Target acquired. Target destroyed.
Does anyone
New
else
target
ever look at the map?
acquired.
There you go. Someone's asking if people look at the map. I'm telling you exactly what to do. Do you see here that the enemy team has
Who knows?
broken through our left side of our forces
New target acquired.
and are attempting to come back onto our
New
backs?
target acquired.
And we don't want to get too close to that guy, as we see that his weapons are fairly short range. So
Target
let's try and get a little bit
destroyed.
of distance.
New target acquired.
We saw that there was somebody over there, so we'll just keep
They are
in
pushing
mind
hard at you guys.
and assume what he's doing.
Press your target keys.
New target acquired.
Echo's poking. Raven flanking left.
Warning, incoming missile. New target acquired. New target acquired. New target acquired. Heat sink destroyed.
Shadow frag coming right side,
Critical.
Echo 7.
Right torso critical damage. New target acquired. Large laser destroyed. New target acquired. Torso destroyed.
Unfortunately, we lost the
arm
torso.
Destroyed.
But we know where it's safe. We know back here is safe due to where our friendlies are.
New target acquired.
I bet you've been so lucky so far. Just get killed, dude.
Target acquired.
There's always strength in numbers, so always go towards your friends. Unfortunately, we have to watch out for other generators. We just saw some missiles over here, so he could be coming this way.
New
Oh, no,
target
there he is.
acquired.
Give him our already destroyed side.
Target destroyed.
Legged and dead. Only one enemy left.
Target
We know where he
acquired.
is.
Yeah, hi, but he's running. Go for him.
Target spotted anyway.
Target destroyed.
Careful not to shoot our friends, and there we go. Successful little outing in our mech. All we did there is we didn't berate on how our team got destroyed or got pushed on and called them scrubs or whatever.
Yeah,
We just
sneaky
worried
one.
about what we could do.
Left torso critical damage.
Turns a savage, yo.
Stop shooting each other.
Target acquired.
A glorious victory, warriors!
Then you get the win. So we didn't particularly worry about our teammates, what they would do. We just worried about what we could do, worried about our position. We were worried about where the enemy is in conjunction to where we are. And in doing so, we got ourselves 3 kills, 800 or so damage, and a win. Things that I could improve upon what I just did. Obviously there, I got caught a little bit out of position. I wasn't particularly aware that our group had been rushed upon because I wasn't either looking at the kill feed that happens on the left side of the screen. So I wasn't paying as much as attention as I possibly could. Now, as it's usually said in the old Mechwarrior area, you know, information is ammunition, or knowing is half the battle, something like that. All these pop-ups, the death notifications that happen over here, the minimap down here, and the various icons that are going to appear upon your screen, all feed you information and increase your awareness. Our left side got pushed down. Some of them were kind of saying it, you know, people were using VoIP saying that there was a light, a Hugin, but that's all that was fed to me. So that's all I thought there was. I could have improved upon that by looking at the minimap and seeing that there was a big force pushing on the left side, and therefore reacted accordingly. However, they survived it. Some of them came back, and I did my job on the right side, shooting mechs, coring them out, and doing whatever, taking care of my heat, just delivering the damage and caring about what I was doing. I just got to take a quick bio, so I'll be right back. If you had any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat if you're wondering about anything. But in the meantime, BRB. I go ahead and come back to no questions in the chat. I don't know whether that means that it's a good thing or a bad thing, whether my chat's broken or no one really cares to ask anything. But yeah, the basic solo queue mentality that you yourself must have in order to make it a lot more of an enjoyable experience for you is go in not expecting other people to do anything. Oh, my chat's broken. It is. Oh, people have been saying things. Okay, so
Who is this Rudy Poo?
I thought my chat was broken. This is annoying. Just let me fix this. I do apologize. I haven't been ignoring you guys. So I apologize for this. Let me see if I can fix this real quick, because I have to use my phone for my chat. Uh, yeah, so just give me a sec. I do apologize, guys. My Wi-Fi from my phone. If someone can type something. It's weird. I was able to receive your whisper, but I wasn't able to receive anything in chat. See, Avatar says something in that chat. Yeah, my phone's chat appears to be broken. So this is not good. But my problem is, if people rely on minimap, they do way too much. Pressing Q helps a lot to see about who's damaged. Also zoom in out after your shot lets you see way more. You take over, you can check for shots from other players. Browser, you shouldn't play with ECMs. By example, teaching. You are literally invisible for other plebs. Well, that's why I'm giving them this mech. I'm not giving them. That's why I recommend this particular mech, because it will make you invisible. And being invisible to plebs is a good thing. I recommend this. I mean, I can take the ECM off if you want. I don't really mind. But yeah, you do point out a very good thing. Relying on the minimap too much, looking at it too much, will, in some cases, hinder you. For instance, when you see a light mech that's behind you, a lot of people's initial things are to go ahead and chase the mech. Oh, there we go. Now my chat, my phone's also all of a sudden working. Did I spec it to ECM? No, I didn't. So I didn't even bother specing it to ECM for a very specific reason. It's useless points to be explaining to a new player from the off. But most jarring thing for land learning is going from being invisible to plebs to suddenly playing against good players who have eyeballs. Though it's very, very true. It's very, very true. People who have eyeballs will shoot me, straight away. So there you go. I'll unequip it. I'll equip a heatsink. But yeah, when you look at the map and you see a light mech, and a lot of people out there, their instant responses when they see any of these light mechs is, for some very, very strange reason, chase down said light mech like an absolute maniac until it is dead. So it can be a hindrance. It's mainly to tell you that things are there and where they are. And as you pointed out there, using Q. Q is a great indicator of your team's health, how they're doing, whether or not they're being engaged, and you'll be able to know whether or not they're being engaged by either an icon will appear over their head, a wireless signal icon appears over their head if they're in range of an enemy mech with ECM and being jammed. You'll also be able to tell whether or not they're being engaged by direct fire weaponry or whatever. If when you're holding Q and you see their damage percentage go down, you'll know if that they're being engaged. So you can use this in order to tell you roughly where the enemy is on the map. Ella and Mad Dogs. There is no point when you say there, like no point in taking ECM if you don't skill in it. You get more value out of another heatsink at the higher end of the game. When you're when you need the extra heat. People can use the rise a lot better at the higher end, so I completely agree with you. You don't have the extra range of what your ECM can do or the extra protection. Yes, Q also helps you judge whether or not you can take cover, take over to tank for specific mechs on your team if they're being hit hard by whatever. You'll know whether or not you have to then share armor, and I encourage this. Sharing armor. It's teamwork. It's a responsibility. It's something that is under your control. Just having a look at the pass of the chat. But yeah, going back to the like solo queue mentality. You really want to focus on what is under your control. I know I keep saying this over and over again, but it's a big deal, all right? I mean, a lot of the times people are going to be running about the place saying, "Oh, well, that pleb went and did such and such a thing, and that led me to lose." In some cases, you know what? You may be right, but in other cases, you may be in a position which you can bring back the match. I mean, right now, yeah, I'm playing at the lower tiers, and if I pull my thumb out my backside, I can probably just run amok and do whatever the hell I want. But it's the same at any tier. If you put more responsibility onto your team and taking less responsibility yourself, you're doing it wrong in the solo queue. In group queue, you can expect your team to carry. I mean, hell, it's why you're grouping with these people, because you want them to do well, and you in turn are going to do well in order to maximize your efficiency. But have this for a little juicy thought. If you go into solo queue expecting everybody else to do better, and everybody else has exactly same mentality as you, so everybody else is expecting everybody else to do better, the natural want of this is that you're going to do as little as you possibly can in order to win. And if everyone wants to do as little as they possibly can to win, then you're not going to win. Everyone's going to do the least amount, sit in the back, get shot at, and die horribly. If you go into the match wanting to do as much as you possibly can in order to help your team win, and everybody does that, then holy shit, like you have an amazing team right there. You'll have a team that can go nuts, like that's going to completely advance in a particular corner. That's going to, well, one person's tanked enough times, and that, okay, it's my turn to tank, and just thrust forward. Like the momentum is created by you, the individual player, not by your team, but by you, the individual player. And if everybody has this same mentality, then it's a team momentum. You'll naturally do what your team wants. So we're going to go ahead and have a little game without ECM here. Because apparently ECM's bad, and I shouldn't take this. I shouldn't tell newbies to equip one ECM node onto their mech. And I just dribbled water on myself. Man, I'm so sexy. And avatars for what happened with Super Mario World. I don't run that game. It became rubbish. As for times is when it's okay to blame your team. Now, I'm not going to say that your team's never at fault, because as everybody here knows, sometimes it is. It legitimately is your team's fault sometimes. It can be an assault that just goes the opposite way and does whatever he wants and then shouts at you for not supporting him. He's at fault. It can be the light that runs ahead and then gets picked off by a shot and goes, oh, you guys are rubbish, how can I blah, blah, blah. He's at fault. Anybody who pushes something that they could control onto you are instantly at fault. It's their fault they died. It's their fault that whatever's going to happen happens. Because they gave up their control the minute they either went the opposite direction to where everybody else was going, or didn't look
Reactor online.
at whatever was firing at them.
Sensors online.
There's all sorts
Weapons
of things.
online. All systems nominal.
Yeah, Evan, I agree. When you solo kill 5 people, die, and your team somehow loses 7-11, it's not hard to rage at your team. I completely agree with you, bro. However, what you can get from that is you just solo killed 5 people on the enemy team. You yourself had a brilliant game. You're gonna take a loss for it? Sure. You're gonna take a death from it? Okay. But you played brilliantly. You must have done some excellent positioning in that match. You must have taken advantage of whatever you could take advantage of, and that you can focus on what made you die. Hell, maybe even saying that, well, you were in such an advantageous spot, able to kill 5 people, were you able to communicate this to your team? A lot of the times, there's an awful lot that you can control in the match that affects how it goes, how it flows. Don't get me wrong, however, there are more often times as well, well, not more often times, but there are times as well.
Contact,
Target
Indigo
acquired.
9.
Where you can't do something. If you can't do something, don't worry about it.
Target spotted.
Watch your right shoulder.
suspect.
Thanks.
Still got an LRM lock. He's gone. Got it back.
MWO, in a lot of sense, is very much similar to a strategy game, in which it's a series of decisions and consequences of those decisions that
He's got a
lead up
friendly
to
with him, so watch
an
it.
inevitable conclusion.
New target acquired.
Alright, Hotel 9, main group.
I'll read your comment in a bit, because
New
I see what you
target
said there.
acquired.
I'll read it in a sec. I'm not ignoring you, buddy. My chat's working now. It's a bit of bad
They got a
aiming
narco
for me. I
running
could have
around.
killed that Jenna.
New target acquired.
Yeah, we got a couple of mechs. We need to go 9, Juliet 9.
New target.
Stay in the ravine.
Warning,
Take advantage,
incoming
Lo. You still
missile.
got.
See, he was able to instantly lock me because I haven't got ECM. But I can just dodge him anyway.
New target acquired.
So I'm kind of okay in that regard. See an enemy UAV. I'm gonna shoot at it. Someone else takes
New
it down.
target acquired. New target acquired.
Target spotted.
New target acquired.
The
Warning,
Jenner's the narco when you take out Bravo.
Warning, incoming missile.
Okay, Squib.
Got a lock on
New
Bravo.
target acquired.
See, this guy's telling him when he's got
Keep
locks on
pounding
things.
Bravo.
Target acquired.
That Firestar has a PPC. That's weird.
Target acquired.
Target spotted.
I'm gonna go ahead and pop a UAV real close here.
UAV.
Delta's alarm boat. Any lights?
New target acquired.
Target spotted.
See if we can get a cheeky peek on something.
New target acquired.
Are you gonna get close, buddy?
Target spotted.
Take the ammo.
New target acquired. New target acquired.
Just about shoot him. Yeah, people are
New
calling targets in solo queue.
acquired. New target acquired. Warning, incoming missile.
I'm down.
Warning, incoming missile. Warning, incoming missile. Warning, incoming missile.
Well, the LRMs are still fierce, as you can see.
New target acquired. New target acquired. New target acquired. New target acquired. Target destroyed. New target acquired. Warning, incoming missile. Right leg critical down. Warning, incoming missile.
Quickly reposition, look at the minimap, see what I'm doing, see where the enemy is. Re-engage.
New target acquired. Target destroyed.
Awful lot of LRMs.
Target acquired. Target destroyed.
As long as we focus on our
Target
side, we should be
acquired.
fine.
Target destroyed. New target
Target
acquired.
spotted.
Destroyed. Heat sink destroyed. Target destroyed. destroyed. New target acquired. Target acquired. New target acquired.
Target
New target
spotted.
acquired. Target destroyed. New target acquired. Target destroyed. New target acquired.
Target spotted.
New target acquired.
Target spotted.
Target destroyed. Heat level critical.
Can they not kill that huntsman? Come on, guys, kill him.
Target destroyed. Target acquired. New target acquired. Target destroyed.
Thing is, even in MWO, not a lot of really good players play on a daily basis, especially not in solo queue. If you're bad, decent people help you improving. But let's say you keep improving and you get good, you really need to play. You need to play really good and better players to improve a lot of things. Indeed, you do. This is very true. What this means is eventually you're going to have to go into the group queue, and this weekend actually, competitive matches permitting. I mean, as far as I believe, I'm in the final 12, so I mean, I'm pretty sure I am. But on Sunday, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be streaming again on Sunday for a lot of the day. And what this means also is I'm going to be opening up comp queue, not comp queue, but group queue, and we're going to be doing group drops. And I invite anybody and everybody to come along, play, tell your friends, whatever. We're just going to invade the group queue, set up loads of groups if we possibly can, and go nuts. We're going to go ham in the group queue and get that experience of working together and what that actually means, and see the difference of solo play and group play. Group play is incredibly different. Like straight up honest, it's incredibly different because you and your friends or group mates, unit mates, whoever, have to work as a team in order to win the match. And you can indeed, if you want, place the blame on other things. CompQ was amazing for improvement. That's a yes and no. That's a yes and no. If I'm going to be blunt honest with you here. If you are using competitive queue to improve your play, you're doing it wrong. You are straight up doing it wrong. Later on, like after tonight, competitive play, the comp queue will be great for like improving. But when there's like a tournament on that's using the results of what comp play does, all a decent team has to do is sit in comp queue. You're gonna enter it thinking you're gonna learn, and then they farm you for I don't know how many matches. And you think I mean, you can come out of that saying you learned a lot. You're kidding yourself. You can learn a lot by reaching out to other teams, other units, saying you want to scrim them and using the lobby, or doing organized decks in group queue. You can very easily do that. You can test things in group queue. It's easy to do. You can test good positions. You can test good builds in group queue. That's all easy, well, and done. If you're going into comp play in order to improve your group play as a unit, you're not improving yourself. You're giving people score. You're giving people points. That's all you're doing. Really good teams can look at you and say, "Well, I hope you learned a lot," and at the same time, they're also going to walk back and go in, "Yeah, God, I'm glad we got that team. We were able to form their points. That's awesome. That's I hope we get more teams like those because they just rise in the ranks, and you're like, oh man, we learned a lot. You learned how to get an ass kicking. That's what you learned. You got farmed. Don't use comp play to improve it. Well, not until like after tonight. After tonight, sure, use comp play to improve improve how to do things like that because you can just throw yourself in and other people throw themselves in as well, and it'll be a great tool for that. But like that's one of the biggest downsides of comp play. And it was pointed out to them, I'm pretty sure, that using that people are going to throw themselves into comp play that don't know what they're doing, and they're going to face monstrous teams that are going to eat them alive. And you can remain positive throughout this and be like, oh boy, we're learning a lot, aren't we, guys? The other team is just got a shark smile looking right back at you as they just consume your points. That's what happened. You know, think about it. Um, nah, it's still available after tonight. It will still be able to be used because you have till December in order to get your 20 matches to earn your MC, and then get into the rank that it wants you to get into. But as far as laser vomit awareness and solo queue mentality is concerned, that's that for this particular lesson in becoming a better pilot. This weekend on most specifically Sunday, I do believe I'm going to be doing it. Because I'll have to get on and play anyway, because I may or may not have a match on Sunday, but it'll be Sunday night for me. So during the day, it's on Sunday. It'll be fairly early. I'll set up the stream and we'll do group drops. We'll get people in. You can be new, old, doesn't matter. It'll be a great place to meet people who are from different units. We'll go about the group queue. We'll split off into different sections if needs be and take the group queue by storm. You'll learn from people who, hopefully, the top group teams. And have a decently good time. Next week, we're not going to use Mr. New Potato. This may actually be the last time you see him. So you may have to wave goodbye to him for Mr. New Potato. As that's unless I continue playing this account, that's all I can really teach you for this particular account. For this like laser vomit and whatever. So Mr. New Potato might go into the closet. We're gonna go and look at a couple of different styles of play next week. If I'm able to do so, I may get some recordings of some games. I'll throw this out there actually, what people actually want. You want me to go over some old games of other comp teams playing each other and analyzing them and telling you what they're doing, like a deep sort of analysis, because that's a lot of the newbie stuff taken over. And I'm pretty sure because a lot of the people who are watching me are veteran players themselves, probably want to see something a bit more advanced. So I can take old comp games, put them on the stream and analyze them for you, break them down, um, tell you what the goals are, what strategies are being used, the reason why they're using particular builds, and give you a better understanding of what's going on when you're watching a high standard competitive match. Or I can explain a different type of build. I mean, I want to alternate between the newbie stuff and the veteran stuff. so that everybody, is not bored or things like that. But yeah, like I said, it should be open till sometime till December. It was said on the post. For the rewards for the competitive queue, it's open all the way. Like it's staying open now. It's just that it's a seasonal kind of thing. All people were fighting for was qualification into the tournament. So yeah, next week that's actually what I might do. Is I'll grab a competitive match. I'll have a look through the MRBC YouTube, maybe some Major League Mechwarrior, an old tournament that's taken place. Sure, you're going to see maybe some old metas, but a lot of the times the strategies are very much still the same to this day. There's not been a drastic change in strategy unless there's been a drastic change in meta. So what I'll plan for next week is we will take a competitive game. We'll sit down, we'll watch it, and we'll analyze the different games that happen and see what happens. As for now, basically I have to go prepare for a Star Wars D&D game I run, so all that's all really well and cool. But until then, I wish you all thank you very much for coming, and yeah, go kill stuff. I hope you all have a very good night, and do take care of yourselves. See ya.